The glittering world of celebrity culture has always functioned as a fascinating mirror for modern society, offering an exaggerated look at the choices, privileges, and dilemmas that define the contemporary experience. We watch the public figures who populate our screens and headlines, often marveling at the sheer scale of their fortunes and the unique realities they navigate daily. Yet, beneath the surface of glamour, designer wardrobes, and high-profile events lies a far more universal set of challenges that connects these figures to everyday individuals. One of the most complex and deeply debated of these challenges is the art of modern parenting, a responsibility that does not suddenly become simple just because a bank account holds millions of dollars. In fact, wealth introduces an entirely new layer of complications to the age-old task of raising grounded, responsible, and empathetic human beings. When resources are virtually limitless, how does a parent instill a sense of gratitude, work ethic, and perspective in children who have never known scarcity? It is a question that has quietly troubled affluent families for generations, but in the digital age, the choices made by wealthy parents are no longer confined to private family discussions. Instead, they are shared on global platforms, analyzed by millions, and transformed into intense cultural debates that reveal deep-seated beliefs about family dynamics, social responsibility, and the true meaning of success. To understand the gravity of this discussion, one must look closely at how the concept of upbringing has shifted in a world dominated by visible luxury and instant gratification, prompting many to ask what truly constitutes a healthy childhood in an environment of extraordinary abundance. Before we dive deeper into the specific choices that have recently captured the attention of millions around the globe, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and join our community so you never miss an exploration of the fascinating stories and debates shaping our modern world. The intersection of immense wealth and family values is a space filled with tension, where every single decision can be interpreted as either a brilliant masterclass in character building or a deeply concerning misstep. This delicate balance becomes even more pronounced when a prominent public figure chooses to pull back the curtain on their household rules, inviting the world to witness the deliberate boundaries they establish for their offspring. The desire to prevent children from becoming entitled or disconnected from reality is undeniably noble, yet the execution of that desire can take many different forms, some of which challenge conventional notions of maternal care and familial unity. In recent days, a wave of intense scrutiny has formed around a series of candid public statements regarding the exact methods used to teach children the value of a dollar when their daily environment suggests that money is an infinite resource. It raises a compelling question about where the line should be drawn between a healthy, constructive lesson in humility and an unnecessary, artificial barrier that might inadvertently create a sense of division within the core of the family structure itself. As we begin to peel back the layers of this unfolding narrative, it becomes clear that the conversation is about much more than just a single household or a specific set of rules, as it touches upon the fundamental anxieties of a generation trying to balance luxury with lessons. The atmosphere surrounding this debate is charged with strong opinions from observers who see the situation from wildly different perspectives, creating a vibrant tapestry of viewpoints that reflects our collective values. On one hand, there are those who believe that extreme measures are absolutely necessary to counteract the distorting effects of growing up under the bright lights of fame and fortune, arguing that early exposure to discomfort is the only true antidote to entitlement. On the other hand, many argue that a family should always remain a unified collective, where comfort, safety, and privilege are shared equally among parents and children, rather than being rationed based on age or earning power. This philosophical divide sets the stage for a dramatic exploration of a reality where ordinary moments like a family journey or a summer vacation are transformed into carefully calculated educational exercises designed to deliver a specific message to the next generation. The intrigue builds as we consider how these deliberate choices are perceived not just by the public, but potentially by the very children who are subjected to them, moving through their formative years under a unique set of expectations. To fully appreciate the complexity of the situation, it is essential to examine the background of the individual at the center of this storm, a person whose entire life has been defined by public visibility and entrepreneurial drive. Having navigated the pressures of the entertainment industry from a young age, this individual understands firsthand how quickly the traps of wealth can derail a person's development, a perspective that heavily influences every parenting decision made today. This personal history adds a layer of depth to the narrative, suggesting that the strict boundaries put in place are not random acts of discipline, but rather a deeply calculated effort to shield a new generation from the negative consequences of an ultra-wealthy lifestyle. Yet, as the details of these parenting strategies begin to emerge more clearly, they spark a polarizing reaction that shows no signs of slowing down. As the public wrestles with the stark contrast between a mother's luxury and her children's deliberately modest experiences, the narrative is just beginning to unfold, and as we prepare to examine the specific details, the underlying tension continues to grow, inviting everyone to reflect on how they would handle the immense responsibility of raising grounded individuals in an ungrounded world. The individual at the very center of this swirling national conversation is none other than television personality, fashion designer, and successful entrepreneur Kristin Cavallari, whose life has been cataloged by the media since her early days on reality television. Alongside her former husband, retired professional football player Jay Cutler, Cavallari shares 3 children who are currently navigating their crucial formative years: 13-year-old Camden, 12-year-old Jackson, and 10-year-old Sailor. Growing up as the offspring of 2 highly successful individuals who have amassed a combined fortune that reaches into the tens of millions of dollars, these 3 children find themselves in a demographic that is profoundly far removed from the financial realities of the average household. Kristin Cavallari herself boasts a reported net worth of approximately $30 million, a massive financial cushion built through a combination of television contracts, lucrative brand endorsements, and her highly successful jewelry and lifestyle brand, Uncommon James. Recognizing the immense privilege that surrounds her household, Cavallari has become increasingly vocal about her parenting philosophy, expressing a deep and persistent hyper-awareness regarding the potentially damaging effects of such an ultra-fortunate situation. This awareness culminated in a series of remarkably candid revelations made during her recent appearance on the prominent podcast titled Aspire with Emma Grede, where she chose to pull back the curtain on the highly specific, strict boundaries she enforces within her household to teach her children the true value of money. During the extensive interview, Cavallari stunned many listeners by explaining that when her family travels together by air, she actively enforces a physical separation based entirely on financial class, choosing to fly in the luxurious confines of first class while her 3 young children are relegated to the coach cabin. This deliberate choice, which Cavallari explained, became a staple of her travel routine as soon as her children reached an age where they were physically and legally old enough to sit unsupervised, was described by the entrepreneur as a vital tool for character development. She light-heartedly described the routine by noting that she simply tells them goodbye and wishes them fun in the back of the aircraft before heading to her premium seat, acknowledging that while this was an impossible logistical feat when they were toddlers, it has now become a seamless and necessary part of her parenting strategy. Cavallari strongly defended the practice by asserting that her children will be entirely fine, that the experience of sitting in economy is genuinely good for their long-term development, and that it is precisely these small, intentional parental decisions that ultimately compound to make a massive positive difference in the trajectory of a child's character. She went on to emphasize that her children do not simply receive whatever items or experiences they desire, stating firmly that if they want something in life, they are absolutely required to work for it and make it happen through their own individual effort and merit. To illustrate this philosophy in action, she shared an anecdote from the previous summer when her 2 preteen sons, Camden and Jackson, were pushed to create their own small local businesses to earn spending money, with one son taking up a job washing windows for neighbors, while the other spent his summer days cleaning out dirty neighborhood garbage cans. This hand-on approach to labor is a core tenet of Cavallari's household, driven by a desire to establish an unambiguous boundary between her personal fortune and her children's lack of independent income. A concept she summarized by stating that she wants them to know very clearly that the wealth belongs exclusively to her and is not theirs to claim. While she readily admitted during the podcast that there is absolutely no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to the incredibly complex world of parenting, she firmly maintained that this rigid method has yielded excellent results within her own family dynamic. However, the moment these comments were broadcast to the wider public, they acted as a massive catalyst for an absolute explosion of internet backlash and intense cultural criticism across multiple major online platforms. The digital landscape quickly became a battleground of opinions, with the popular discussion website Reddit becoming a central hub for thousands of individuals who felt deeply compelled to dissect, criticize, and completely dismantle Cavallari's logic. One widely upvoted response on a prominent celebrity news forum expressed a state of absolute disbelief, with the user writing that they will never understand the underlying logic of intentionally depriving your own children of the comfort you can easily provide. The critic pointedly argued that forcing your children to fly in a lower class while you sit in luxury is the exact psychological equivalent of forcing your children to sleep outside in a tent in the backyard simply because they did not purchase their own house. This sentiment resonated deeply with many online observers who questioned why a multimillionaire mother would feel the need to penny pinch her own flesh and blood, arguing that one of the primary motivations for achieving immense financial success is the ability to readily share that safety, comfort, and luxury with your immediate family. Another highly critical perspective emerged from users who suggested that if Cavallari's primary goal was truly to keep her 3 children humble and grounded, she should lead by example and sit in the economy cabin right alongside them for the duration of the flight. By choosing to elevate herself to first class while leaving her preteens in coach, critics argued that she is not teaching a healthy lesson about the value of labor, but is instead actively creating a strange, unnecessary, and potentially alienating class system within the very walls of her own nuclear family structure. Many observers noted that if she truly craved the uninterrupted luxury, quiet atmosphere, and premium service of a first-class cabin, she could easily achieve this by taking any number of child-free business trips or private vacations, rather than explicitly separating herself from her children during a shared family journey. The wave of online condemnation continued to swell as people shifted their focus from the financial philosophy to the potential emotional and psychological impact that this physical separation might have on the young children themselves, particularly her 10-year-old daughter Sailor. Users expressed a deep sense of sadness when imagining the scenario from a child's viewpoint, with one individual noting how heartbreaking it would feel to be a 10-year-old boarding an aircraft, only to realize that your own mother actively chooses not to sit next to you or share the journey with you. The conversation quickly shifted into a wider discussion about parental responsibility, safety, and public etiquette, as an increasing number of travelers stepped forward to voice their frustrations regarding the logistics of the situation. While a 13, 12, and 10-year-old are certainly capable of sitting in an airplane seat without constant physical assistance, many argued that they are still very much children who require active parental supervision to ensure their behavior remains respectful to the surrounding passengers. Critics pointed out that by completely removing herself from their cabin, Cavallari is essentially forcing the flight attendants and the random passengers seated in economy to deal with any potential noise, rowdiness, or misbehavior that might arise from her 3 unsupervised preteens. This element of the debate opened up a massive conversation about the unwritten rules of public transit and the growing frustration surrounding wealthy parents who outsource the behavioral management of their children to the public, raising the tension to an entirely new level as the internet dissected every possible angle of this high-profile family dynamic. Beyond the immediate questions of passenger etiquette and behavioral supervision, the public backlash directed at Kristin Cavallari's unconventional travel arrangements quickly expanded into a much deeper, more visceral conversation centered around emergency preparedness and fundamental maternal instincts. A significant portion of the online audience found themselves entirely incapable of rationalizing the physical distance between a mother and her young children during a commercial flight, citing the unpredictable nature of aviation emergencies as a primary reason for their intense discomfort with the setup. Parents across various digital forums united in their assertion that they could never willingly separate themselves from their offspring in an environment where split-second life-or-death situations could theoretically occur. Commenters painted vivid, harrowing pictures of sudden cabin depressurization or emergency landings, asking how any parent could bear the thought of being trapped several rows ahead in a premium cabin while their 10, 12, and 13-year-old children are left to navigate the terror of oxygen masks and evacuation slides entirely on their own. Even in a scenario where the children might be accompanied by a trusted family nanny or a relative in the coach cabin, critics maintain that the primal urge to protect one's own children should outweigh any desire for a quiet, first-class experience. This specific angle of the debate transformed the narrative from a simple disagreement over parenting styles into a highly charged debate about the very nature of parental duty and safety, leaving many to conclude that the emotional and physical risk far outweighed whatever educational lesson Cavallari was attempting to impart. Despite the overwhelming wave of negativity and sharp criticism that dominated the digital discourse, a small but articulate group of defenders emerged in the comment sections to offer a completely different perspective on the situation. These individuals argued that the public was reacting with excessive emotion and failing to look at the broader, highly complex challenge of raising children within the echo chamber of extreme wealth. Supporters pointed out that Cavallari has spent her entire adult life under the intense, distorting spotlight of fame and fortune, giving her a unique, first-hand understanding of just how easily a life of unchecked luxury can ruin a young person's work ethic and sense of reality. From this point of view, the choice to place her children in the coach cabin is not an act of cruelty or selfishness, but rather a highly deliberate, brave, and necessary boundary designed to combat the insidious effects of trust fund entitlement. Proponents of this view noted that navigating motherhood while possessing a $30 million net worth requires a parent to make difficult, counterintuitive choices that regular families will never have to face, and that shielding children from constant luxury is a gift that will serve them incredibly well in the long run. They argued that experiencing the regular, unpolished world of economy travel helps ensure that the children remain connected to the reality that the vast majority of the global population experiences daily. Nevertheless, this supportive viewpoint remained firmly in the minority, as the broader public continued to express a deep-seated philosophical disagreement with the idea of introducing a rigid class divide into a single-family unit. Many observers returned to the core idea that the very purpose of working hard and accumulating wealth is to elevate the quality of life for one's children, ensuring they have access to the absolute best comfort, security, and opportunities available. The dominant sentiment among everyday parents was that while it is vital to prevent children from becoming spoiled, there are countless ways to teach humility, gratitude, and a strong work ethic without actively excluding them from the luxuries that the parent enjoys simultaneously. Critics suggested that teaching the value of money should happen through daily household responsibilities, philanthropic efforts, and financial literacy education, rather than through public displays of separation that could inadvertently breed feelings of resentment or inferiority within the children. This polarizing division in public opinion highlights a fascinating cultural shift in how we view success, family structure, and the responsibilities of wealth in the modern era, showing that an ordinary plane ride can serve as a massive catalyst for an intense societal debate. As the conversation in this interview begin to settle, the story of the Cavallari Cutler household remains a powerful case study in the ongoing evolution of modern parenting philosophies. It challenges every single viewer to reflect deeply on their own core values and ask themselves how they would choose to navigate the incredibly delicate balance between privilege and discipline if they found themselves in a similar situation. Whether one views Kristin Cavallari's methods as a brilliant, forward-thinking masterclass in character building or as an unnecessarily harsh and alienating boundary, it is undeniable that her approach has forced a massive global audience to reconsider what it truly means to give a child a good upbringing. The journey of raising children is never a simple path, and when that journey unfolds in the public eye with millions of dollars at stake, every single milestone and choice becomes part of a much larger narrative about who we are and what we value as a society. Ultimately, the long-term impact of these choices will only be truly understood many years from now when Camden, Jackson, and Saylor grow into adulthood and look back on their unique childhood experiences, carrying the lessons of both the first class and coach cabins into the rest of their lives. For now, the debate remains completely open, serving as a vivid reminder that when it comes to the complex art of raising the next generation, there are truly no simple answers or easy compromises.